Rain. It's always fucking raining, I think to myself as I trudge back home from my girlfriend's house. It's late on a Friday night, and with the exception of a few drunk college kids stumbling home, I have the dark streets to myself. This late in October, the rain carries a chill that cuts through my light jacket like a knife. I curse myself for not thinking to bring an umbrella. Pull my collar up tighter and reflect back on how I got myself into this mess to begin with. Ordinarily, I'd be driving myself home, blasting some hardcore punk music and feeling sorry for the poor sap that found themselves caught out in this miserable weather. Well, tonight that poor sap is me, and it's my own damn fault. You see, I was never one of those people who knew just when to call it quits with booze and drugs. Nope, not this guy. I'm the type of guy who rockets himself into an entirely new dimension of being fucked up and decides to drive his dumb ass home. I'm sure you can piece together the rest of the story. So, multiple court dates and a $5,000 fine later, I'm drenched to the bone walking the lonely dark road home. The light from the street lamps is just barely enough to keep me from stepping in some obnoxiously large puddles while I continue down Main Street, walking quickly with my hands stuck firmly into the pockets of my jacket. I come to the sprawling park that my apartment butts up to. Of course, it's on the far side of said park, and I have a decision to make. Do I take the longer but well-lit route, just skirting the outside of the park, or do I walk the path that runs directly through it? During the day, my choice would be pretty obvious, but this late at night, I have to search my mind for the correct answer. The driving rain and autumn chill makes up my mind for me. Cutting through the park it is. I hang a right and start making my way down the poorly lit path that runs straight through the gnarled trees and dense bushes. I'm walking hurriedly with my head down into the rain. I'm not the type of person who scares easily, so I can't say I'm a fan of the choice that I made. The trees are swaying crazily in the wind, and every bush I pass seems to reach its branches out towards me in the attempt to drag me off the path and into the inky blackness just outside the pools of light. I'm just about to come up to the halfway mark, and I hear a strange noise being carried on the wings of the wind. It's enough to make me stop dead in my tracks and strain my ears against the malicious weather. Trying to discern what exactly I'm hearing, several long seconds seem to drag on into infinity before I hear it again. Only closer. It, like nothing I've ever heard before or since, the best way I can describe it would be an animal caught in the throes of death. It's a unique primal sound that cuts its way through the shitty weather directly into my ears. I can feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. After hearing the sound for a second time, I decide that it's time to get my ass in gear and hightail it back home. At this point, I'm not breaking into a full run, but I am certainly not taking my time either. The darkness, rain, and wind are wreaking havoc on my senses and playing tricks on my eyes. Every shadow, every tree appears to be some kind of creature hell-bent on dragging me down into the depths. I'm so focused on getting myself out of this situation, I almost don't notice it. Almost. About 50 feet ahead of me, just on the edge of a small circle illuminated by one of the few street lamps that light my path, is what appears to be a person with their back to me. Now, this is a totally uncommon thing to see, but this late at night and in this weather, it's a little more so. My guard is immediately raised and my pace slows that to a leisurely walk. As I get closer, it sounds like the person in front of me is crying. I do my best to approach the stranger quietly, while still keeping my head on a swivel. I've never been a very trusting person, and now is not the time to start. When I'm about 10 feet away, I can really see just who is in front of me. A man with long, unkempt black hair, dirty blue jeans, and a stained red parka is hovering on the very edge of the light provided by the street lamp with his back to me. And yes, he's crying, with both hands covering his face. I stop a short distance from the man and try to get his attention, which doesn't seem to work. I raise my voice and try again. I still get no response. Sighing deeply, I close the few remaining feet between us and put my hand on his shoulder. He instantly stops crying, turns to face me, and drops his hands. I can physically feel my blood run cold. Where there should be eyes, there's nothing but two deep black voids sunken into the creature's face. Its mouth is a jagged, blood-red line that runs the entirety from ear to ear. It has no nose to speak of, just a smooth patch of gray, leathery skin. Its appearance hits me like a kick in the face. My breath catches me in my chest as I try to backpedal away from this monstrosity. Fear like I've never known before, crashes over me in waves and causes me to trip myself on my own feet. I land hard on my back, never taking my eyes off the creature in front of me. It reaches its hands towards me, and I truly see them for the first time. Nails the size of steak knives protrude from its gnarled claws. As it takes a few shuffling steps towards me, it opens its terrifying version of a mouth, which shows off another pitch-black void and unleashes an inhuman wail that shakes me to the very core. "What the fuck are you?" I yell as the creature advances on me. The sickly yellow light cast from the street lamp, catching on the edge of one of its claws, is the last indication I need to run for my life. So I run, I do. I get to my feet and sprint in the direction I was originally heading, running towards home and, in my mind, ultimate salvation. For a brief, wonderful moment, I can hear nothing beyond my feet pounding on the pavement and the blood rushing in my ears. Then, above the noise, I hear it. "What the fuck are you? What the fuck are you?" I chance a look behind me, and it's there, barely 10 feet behind me, and running faster than I ever thought possible, and mimicking my words exactly. I whip my head around and brace myself into the wind and rain, and I run harder than I've ever run before. I run for my life. I run as if the devil himself is chasing me. And as far as I know, that could be very well true. Absolute primal fear carries me on my quaking legs through the park at a speed I'd never be able to match under normal circumstances. My breath comes in ragged gasps. My heart slams against my ribcage and threatens to burst out of my chest. And through all of this, I can still hear it running me down. The creature lets out another terrifying shriek that lets me know it's still right on my tail. I can feel my body begging for me to stop running and my strength waning. I know that I won't be able to keep this pace for much longer. Warm tears stream down my otherwise freezing cold face as I concede to my dismal fate. I imagine just how it's going to feel to have my skin filleted off my bones by those maddening claws. I can see the horrific mouth opening wide enough to swallow me whole. I can smell my warm blood being split onto the cold ground. And just when I think I can't go any further, I see it. My home. The large, oppressive concrete building that I dared to call ugly on any normal day has never looked more beautiful. I push my body past its limits and hit the road at a dead sprint. The rain is coming in sheets and is nearly enough to cover the sound of my feet slapping the soaking pavement. I can feel the creature breathing down my neck, and I don't dare turn around. One slip, one mistake, one false move, and I know it will have me. I quickly come to the front door of my apartment building and I crash through it. I land on all fours in the lobby of my building and quickly scramble back to the door. I slam it closed and support it with my back, expecting the creature to collide with it at any second. I plant both feet, brace my arms in the doorway, grit my teeth, and nothing. I manage to stay standing in that position for several more minutes before my body simply gives out and I collapse in a heap in the front of the door. I sit with my back and my head resting on the door, legs splayed out in front of me. My entire body quivers from pure fear as I desperately try to gain control over my irregular breaths and thrashing heart. I'm just barely beginning to calm myself when I hear it. It starts out so quietly that I almost am able to convince myself that it's not real. But I know the truth. "Come back outside. Help me, mister. Help me," the creature whispers to me in a voice of a child. Before I can truly comprehend what is happening, I see the doorknob start to turn. I grab onto it and brace the door with all of my strength. Giggling. I hear giggling coming from the other side of the threshold. I feel the last threads of my sanity begin to break as I go mad with terror. At the last second, memory surfaces from deep within my psyche, and I look up. The door has a heavy-duty bolt lock, installed by the property owner not but 2 weeks ago. I thank the god of paranoid landlords, throw the deadbolt closed, and back up off the door. The heavy steel door shakes in its frame as the being tries to break it down. All the while I hear it speaking to me in a multitude of voices. A child, an old woman, an angry man, and of course I hear myself. "What the fuck are you? What the fuck are you?" I face the door and let out a loud, angry, confused, but ultimately impotent scream. I scream the longest, most vile string of curse words I can muster. I scream because I am totally lost in a sea of fear. In between my outbursts, I finally notice something. There's no sounds emanating from the opposite side of the door. Silence. This time I don't wait around to see what the fuck that thing was up to now. I whip my body around and burst into the stairway, taking the stairs 2 and 3 at a time. I make it up to the 3rd floor and slam the door to the stairwell close behind me. With shaking hands, I reach into my pocket and somehow manage to grab the correct key for my door. My dilapidated body cascades through the threshold of my apartment, and after locking the door and throwing the deadbolt on, I lie face down on my worn carpet, infused with the comforting smell of cigarette smoke. After a few minutes spent collecting my thoughts and trying to calm my rebelling body, I make my way into my bathroom. I catch my reflection and almost don't recognize the person staring back at me. My hair is a soaking mess, sticking up in odd formations. Eyes stand open and roll around crazily in my skull. My mouth hangs agape, gasping for air. I splash cold water on my face and stumble into my bedroom, where I crash face down onto my unmade bed. Total silence rules my environment for a few precious moments, until I hear it. My closet door creeps open ever so slightly. "We found you!" a child exclaims from my closet, where the door stands ajar. I stand up slowly and turn to face the source of the terror coursing through my body. "It's not nice to hide from us," it proclaims as one of its demon-like claws clutches the edge of the door and inches it open. In the deep black abyss that is my closet, the ambient light from outside catches on the creature's jagged teeth. I stumble backwards until I collide with my bedside table, all the while never taking my eyes off the monstrosity creeping its way out of the pitch-black void. Its sickening laugh builds in volume as it creeps towards me. I land hard on my ass and begin to accept my fate. Images of torture and madness flash through my mind, of my blood flowing like a river onto my bedroom floor and beyond, of my father finding my desecrated body. The thought of my father jogs my memory. With shaking hands, I rip the drawer of my nightstand and retrieve the compact Glock my father gave me as a housewarming gift. The creature is within mere feet of me now, crawling with its body contorting in horrifying ways. It lets out a blood-curdling wail and opens its jagged maw and moves to end my existence. I let out a scream of anguish as I feel one of its hellish nails dig into my thigh. I take a deep breath, line up my sights, exhale, and I empty the entire clip directly into the monster's terrifying excuse for a face. The noise it made, God, the noise. There's no words in English or any other language to describe it. The stench of cordate hangs heavy in the air. Halfway through my assault on the creature, I had closed my eyes, which I opened very slowly. Black blood is sprayed all over my body and the surrounding area, but where there should be a body, there is none. I let my arm drop heavily to my side. My breath comes shakily. My entire body trembles with fear and adrenaline. I dare not move a muscle, and I begin to hear a wonderful sound. Far off I can hear sirens approaching. One of my neighbors surely heard my assault on the creature and called the cops. Help is coming. Tears stream down my face and sobs rack my body. "Fuck you, creep, I beat you!" I exclaim at the top of my lungs, and I laugh. The kind of maniacal, wild laugh that would not be out of place in a mental institution. Once I gain control over myself again and relative quiet takes over my room, I swear I hear something. I strain my hearing beyond the wail of sirens and ringing in my ears. I hear one terrifying whisper that freezes my blood all over again. "See you soon."